But you were not allowed not to meet, not even to see that is Mandela. No.
Of the end.
Watch these elections. Watch these elections. I'm not saying anything more than that. The Indians were brought down here 3.5 years. They would stay for 3.5 years. After that, they could be allowed to, and you can go back.
Okay.
Now, the British have brought them on the ships and so on. How do you go back to...
But you can go home now.
Yeah. The thing that Steve Biko often emphasized was that we don't want to be equal with whites just because we want to be like them. No, we don't want to be like them. We are okay.
King David Studio podcast.
I've managed to get hold of Ntate Mosiuoa Lekota. I'm happy to have him here because I'm curious about the historic account of some of his life story, particularly days in prison and all of that. So we're going to have an interesting conversation. And of course, we'll focus on today's politics. And because Ntate Mosiuoa is running a political party that we know very well, whose history and challenges we are most familiar with. And is here with me. Rewe, ke a leboga for your time.
Thanks a lot, Daddy.
I've done a preparation, really, in terms of your history, but I realize that I know very little. I want to go back right from the beginning. Ontwana Kronstadt. Where about in Kronstadt?
Actually, I'm born and bred in Senegal, in the Free State.
Okay.
There's a mountain there to Kitabahuele. It's almost like Table Mountain. So it's west of Ventersburg, northeast of the town of Senegal, and it is also south of Stainsres.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
How do you end up in Kronstadt then?
My father and mother were migrant workers, and they worked in Johannesburg. My mother was a domestica in Hyde Park.
Okay, all right here.
Because my grandmother was a professional, so to say, a professional domestica.
Yeah.
So she took my mother there and she taught her to do this. But my father was a driver of bakkies to start with, and later on he was a driver of the lorries and so on. Now, when they thought they had sufficient resources, they bought a yard in Kronstadt, and then they built a house there. I was the firstborn in my family, and I remained with my father's eldest brother.
Oh, in Kronstadt.
In Senegal.
Okay.
Matwabi. So I grew up in the countryside of the Free State of Senegal. Yeah. And but when they had built the house, my father and mother decided that they must go and have their own house now there. And my father went as a driver. He could get a job, and so they settled there. And it was around the time of the 1940s. So when the apartheid government was introduced apartheid, and then they moved people out of the town of Kronstadt.
Okay.
And then they built the township of Kronstadt called Seisoville.
Yes.
Seisoville is named after the king of Basotho, Morena Seiso.
Okay.
So they built a house there and so on. When I was to do standard 2, I went from my grandfather's place, my father's elder brother.
Senegal,
and then I came to school in Kronstadt.
Seisoville.
Yeah. Now, you will see it was around the time when apartheid was in the late 40s. But remember, the National Party came to power in 1948. When I came to the town, my father and mother had always been African Methodist Episcopal Church.
Okay.
But very many people, African people, were against apartheid. And they took to the idea that children must get good education because apartheid education was just going to enslave them and all of that. But the African Methodist Episcopal Church, the AME Church, do you know the history of that church?
Not entirely. I know it now, but not where it comes from.
It comes from the United States. It was a church founded by liberated slaves.
Okay.
And Martin Luther King were part of that. So I'm not quite sure how it came, but it did come here to South Africa. So my mother and father were part of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, AME. But it was not well off. Linked to the opposition to apartheid was the Catholic Church. The Catholics were really, really determined to oppose apartheid. But they had an advantage because their Catholic Church was a strong, financially strong church and also very strong against apartheid and so on.
Also internationally very strong.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, the Catholic Church is you must remember that the Catholic Church is the one that broke away from the Eastern Church. They broke away from the original church. And then in the 1740s, thereabout, 1430, the Catholics, the church split. And because others were saying that now, the headquarters of the church must be in Rome. And the others were saying, no, nonsense, man. The headquarters of the church must be in the East.
Yes.
The Orthodox Church. So when it split, we now have the Roman Catholic Church
with the headquartered in Rome.
Yeah, because they said that now Jesus had said that thou art Peter, and upon this rock
I'll build my church.
Yes.
So
Saint Peter is buried in the Vatican. That's why, therefore, the Catholic had a lot of land. In Italy, they really had a lot of land. The Vatican actually used to be a state.
Yeah.
It was not just...
Even now, it's a small country.
It's a small little thing, but now it's no longer really that. Now, so my mother and father had a serious argument, but we want these kids to learn good religion. And they must not drink this apartheid thing and so on. And ultimately, but also their loyalty to the African Methodist Episcopal Church remained also there. Then they ultimately agreed that, okay, you stay with the AME because this is our church and that. But my father, I will go with the children to the Roman Catholic so that our children must get education from the Catholics.
Okay.
So that was how the family split in terms of that and so on.
Yes. Was it an obvious split or an uncomfortable split within the family?
No, they didn't. They didn't divorce.
Yes. It wasn't. But you were still able to maintain harmony even within the differences.
We stayed in the same home, everything.
Yeah.
But we went to church with my father, and my mother went
elsewhere
to the African Methodist Episcopal. She remained there.
Yeah.
Actually, right up to the end of her days. Now, but my father was persistent that we must get this Catholic education, which was going to make us good people and so on.
Do you feel it worked in that regard? The goal of your father's objective.
All of us, the kids, became Catholic. My mother remained the only one in that thing. in the AME church and so on. Oh, but all of us went to the Catholic church. So when I came to Kronstadt, I started going to school in the Catholic school there. And my brother, my sisters and brother, all of us went to the same school.
Yeah.
But when I finished at 6, which was 64, the Catholics took some of us to Matatiele, St. Matatiele, to a Catholic institution that was called Maria Zell Institute, which is why I got the nickname Terror, because I was playing soccer, and it was just a soccer nickname I was given by my schoolmaster there and so on.
Okay. Terror distraction. I always wondered, what terror thing? Because when they write it, Terro.
Yes.
R. Yes.
Yeah, that is the nickname I was given.
Yes.
By my schoolmaster, sportsmaster.
So you were quite destructive.
I was a striker.
A scoring striker or just a striker?
A scoring striker. I was scoring a scoring striker.
I have to ask. Because when I strike, I must say scoring.
Yeah, no. Then I went to Maria Zell. By the way, I discovered years later that Me Albertina Sisulu also went to that same school.
Wow.
Maria Zell Institute. It's still there in that thing.
What was it about that school that mattered so much for Baliseko at the time?
It was one of the very established Catholic schools in South Africa. And then linked to that was another school, because when I finished JC there, I was then moved to St. Francis College, Marion Hill.
Got you. Yes.
And to do matric there. Now, there again was a very, very established school of the Catholics. The late Robert Mugabe went to school there. Steve Biko had come from the Transkei, had gone to school there as well. Actually, I met him there.
Wow.
Although I was somewhat younger than him and so on.
Yeah.
And Robert Mugabe finished his school there, and then he went to Fort Hare. He was older than us. It's history that we found when we got there. That
he's passed here.
He passed here, he was here.
Yeah.
And then Steve Biko was there. And that's where we founded the South African Student Organization, SASO. Because Steve Biko had gone to medical school, was studying to be a doctor. But politics was a critical thing for him. So he used to come with the other students to talk to us about when we go to university, what we're going to meet and things like that and so on. And later on, actually in December of 1968, we founded the South African Student Organization, SASO, there.
But what makes you interested in politics? In the story you've told so far, you speak of the Catholics, the Roman Catholics were quite strong about politics. Was it obvious in the education? Did it come across in the education at all?
When apartheid was introduced, there was a very strong movement amongst the people of South Africa to oppose apartheid because they could see that. And this discrimination and the fact that Africans were going to be given education less in quality as opposed to what whites were being given and so on. And then, of course, the introduction of all these things. Toilets only for whites.
Yes.
Toilets, well, if there's no money, you could just go to the forest and do whatever you can. So that discrimination made Africans really dislike it. And the Catholic Church was very, very opposed to it. The future could never be, because there was no discrimination in the eyes of God and so on. So the Catholics taught this thing. And very many people, the nuns, the church priests and all of that, very many of them came from Germany. It was after the Second World War. And people had seen what could happen if you allow teachings of hating some people because they are like that. I think the Catholics were particularly moved by the danger of teaching racism and allowing racism, that it could go to extreme ends, and especially if you see how the Jewish people were killed in millions in the Second World War. So the Catholic Church couldn't forget what had happened, because even in Germany, the Catholic Church was a very strong church there. And leading lights in the Catholic Church, and I think very many Roman Catholics, you remember who introduced the 10 bulls? The Catholic Church had spread from Rome to most of the countries of Europe, and lots of people became church workers, priests, nuns, and all of that. And when the Second World War happened, and this huge destruction of the lives of people and so on, it sent that message. But then the other thing is that King Henry VIII wanted to divorce. Now, the Catholic Church does not allow divorce.
Okay.
He wanted to divorce because he had wanted to have a son so that his son could succeed him. But that did not happen.
What, with the wife that he was married to?
Yes. Yeah. Then he wanted the church to allow him to divorce. The church would not allow that. But in the meantime, what had happened is that in the church itself, lots of church leaders, priests, and all of that were having concubines.
Oh hell! So they were telling him to do something, yet they were doing wrong things.
He was seeing that. Then he said. Then he said to the Bishop of England that, look, these guys, I want to divorce, and I want. Now you are the head of the church here, So, and you have so many concubines.
I know.
I know about this and that. I want you to marry one of your concubines so that you can then allow me to get married.
Did that happen?
Yes. Because he said, well, if you don't, I'm going to have to tell these guys you are busy here with this kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
So this guy agreed. So the Bishop of England then went this way, and then he gave him permission also to get married.
How does that story link to what happens everywhere else with the Romans and South Africa for that matter?
No, but this audience that I have also is a bit problematic.
Tell me. Oh yes, okay. Come on.
And so now it was authorized, and that's how the church, the Catholic Church of England, broke away.
Another faction.
And became the Church of England, which now is Catholic all around, save on this point.
Yeah.
That it now allowed for divorce, it now did this and so on.
Amazing. Now religion evolves.
Yeah, it evolves as well.
Yeah. When everything else, because even now, same-sex marriage was an issue. And now,
now it's also this. Yeah. But I've veered a little bit away because the history of the church becomes important. So after I finished JC at Maria Zell, I went to St. Francis College, Marion Hill. And there I did matric, and I finished.
You became political?
At the same time, when that was happening, we formed the South African Students Organization because of apartheid. Because Steve Biko then said, no, look, Agreements every time we were members of NUSAS otherwise because we were non-racial. We didn't subscribe to apartheid and all of that. So whenever we held meetings of NUSAS, which is, as you know, even today is still non-racial, whenever we held conferences and so on, the police would come and disrupt our meetings and all of that. And some of us would get arrested and so on. So Steve Biko then said, look, we must stop this thing of insisting as if we can only be students and we can only be educated if we are with white children. So we must form a blacks-only organization. Okay. So we formed an organization, the South African Students Organization was really African, colored, Indian sections. We were all in that and so on. And we could hold our meetings and they couldn't come and say, you are breaking the apartheid laws and all of that. Because
there were no whites.
There were no whites in there now.
Yeah.
And then, what could they now do?
But didn't they know that, because I know political meetings were also not allowed, didn't they know that this is a political formation?
But we were students and they couldn't say, as students, we cannot meet, we cannot discuss whatever we would like to discuss and so on. So we could do that. And which, of course, they were uncomfortable about. But what could they do now?
Yeah. You can start a song and pretend it's a Le Mokereke. The presence of Steve Biko, now that, his legacy remains so solid in the history of the fight for apartheid in our country and black consciousness and everything. The presence of him now in hindsight clearly was an important one when you look back to those times.
It was very, very important. He had been brought up by the Catholics, and which is why he came from King Williamstown and came to Marian Hill. And very many of the Catholic children were brought from various parts of the countries to come and study at St. Francis College, Marian Hill. And some of them went to other countries to go and... But as long as the Catholics gave them the education that told them you are equal to anybody, you cannot be made less human because of that. But in the meantime, the National Party was determined to run with this apartheid thing of theirs. Schools, the colors had to have their own schools, the Indians had to have their own schools, they even have their own university on Salisbury Island. I don't know if you know about Salisbury Island. So there was Salisbury Island is an island just off the coast of Durban. It was in the ocean there. The Indian people went to that university. It was their university there. The colored people had a university in Westville, in Cape Town. And they were sent to that university and so on. Then they set a university for AmaZulu, Ngoye.
Yes.
But Fort Hare, which had already been founded when the Cape was a colony of its own, continued with Fort Hare. And mostly it was AmaXhosa there now. Some of the students were brought from other countries like Robert Mugabe, who came from Zimbabwe, and others. When the others came from Botswana, like Matthews, Professor Matthews, the grandfather of the Foreign Minister of Foreign Affairs, by the way,
in South Africa,
Naledi Pandor, her grandfather.
Okay.
It was Matthews SK.
Went to Fort Hare.
He went to Fort Hare and he became a lecturer there. And his son, Joe Matthews, also went to Fort Hare. But now they came from Botswana. They were not Xhosa. So, but because it was a British colony, earlier. The Afrikaners could not interfere with it necessarily. But the time I'm talking about, when I am at university now, South Africa has since became a union in 1910. Because the British conquered the Cape, fought the Eastern Cape. They took over later on. Then they took over Transvaal.
Yes.
And the Free State, they also took over.
It's in 1950, the Boer War.
No, it was...
Is it much earlier? 18. In the 1800s.
1834, when the Great Trek took place, and the Boer Boys came this way. Some of them settled in the Free State. It was called Orange Free State. And then some of them crossed over to the Transvaal.
Yeah.
But when diamonds were discovered in Kimberley, the British came up and they said to the Afrikaners, you guys are mistaken. You think that you are free. You are our subjects. You are under us.
So these are our diamonds.
The whole of that Free State is actually our colony. And you are our subjects.
Yeah.
And even these diamonds. So the Cullinan diamond, which was discovered there, is actually in England, is a Queen's property.
It was found here.
Then 10 years later, 10 years after the discovery of diamonds there was the discovery of gold. 1876. The diamonds having been discovered 1867. 1876. Gold is discovered here. Then the British came and he said, hey, man.
Don't forget.
You guys, you are not independent. You are our colony. So they now also took over the Transvaal.
Imagine that. They are being bullied by people who are bullying us. And that means we are even much smaller humans.
Yes, you see now. Then Rhodes, who did not like the British, decided that no, he wanted to go out of British rule, and he must go to what came to be known as Rhodesia. Rhodes, Rhodesia. The British looked at him and they said, no, that's fine. You go on and manage that. It's fine and so on. But didn't take long. They decided no.
They were coming.
They went for him. And so Rhodesia became a colony also
of the British.
Yes. And later on, what you now call Zambia was also conquered because the Germans had come into Namibia, Southwest Africa.
Yes, of course.
It was called German West Africa. The British realized, hey man, these guys, they are trying to get into Botswana and come here. Then the British went to the Botswana and said to them, hey, do you see these guys next door? Dangerous.
Who are they talking about?
Germans.
The Germans, yes.
These chaps are dangerous. We know them. They come from where we come from. But you are very good guys. You are our friends. We are going to protect you. That's how Botswana became a protectorate.
Yeah. What a story.
It's history, man. It's simply history.
But it's important history.
Yes,
because
indeed.
We live in a time when we think the history starts in 1994. We don't acknowledge it comes much, much further than that. Even the Boer War with the Boer against the British, the war that they lost completely. And there were concentration camps in the Free State where the museum is still there even now. So, because it's history that we don't know.
Now, these guys in the Transvaal, Kruger was now leading them. And they didn't want the English at all. And then they decided, no, they want to link up with the Mozambicans.
Mozambican is the Portuguese. Yeah, they were already there.
They were already there. The Portuguese, by the way, The first people to come south were the Portuguese, and they landed in Angola. They came here to the Cape, but they got there in the winter months, and they called it the Cape of Storms because their ships were wrecked and everything and so on.
Okay.
Then some of them remained, however, and became part of us. Part of your so-called colored population comes from there. Then the Portuguese went east. Do you know why Natal is called Natal? Because the Portuguese, they arrived there on Christmas Day.
Okay.
They say it's the birthday of Jesus Christ, Natal.
Ah.
And they named it Natal.
It stayed.
And it was their colony. But then they moved on north to Mozambique because they're actually heading for spices, for the spices and all of that. So they also put Mozambique. The British, they were all conquering. The British had the most powerful shipping fleets on the. That's why they drove all of the European nations out of the Mediterranean.
Yeah,
and they really compelled the others to look for a way to go to the east because of their military might. They were very, very strong because they can't go anywhere without going into the water. So they built very strong ships, very big ships and all of that. So now the Germans came later. So when the Germans got to Namibia, they had already conquered German East Africa, what do you call those areas like Rwanda, Burundi. It was called.
So they were taking the coast one at a time.
Yeah,
yes,
something like that.
Yeah.
So now you had German East Africa, German West Africa. Now the Germans were trying to penetrate Africa so that they can link German West Africa to German East Africa.
Okay.
You see that thing called the Caprivi Strip? It was an attempt by the Germans to try and go to the east. The British then moved in. What was Rhodesia became South Rhodesia. And then they took Zambia to close even more, to block the road for these guys to go that way, so that it became now Northern Rhodesia.
Yes.
Zambia was Northern Rhodesia before it became
Zambia.
Yeah. Zimbabwe was Southern Rhodesia. When the British wanted to go this way, to take the gold to link up with Mozambique and all of that, the British rushed over to the Swazis and said to them, "Hey, do you see these guys? You don't know these guys, you guys. These guys have given us a lot of trouble in the Cape. We are going to look after you.
They're coming.
So you must become our protectorate. We'll protect you. You are good guys. You are our friends." Swaziland
Same as Botswana.
Yes.
Yeah.
Swaziland became a protectorate. In the meantime, Lesotho had actually been defeated first by the British after the British took over the Free State after that diamond thing. So Lesotho was already a protectorate itself.
Of the British.
Of the British,
Yes.
in that. The whole of Southern Africa was the property of the British.
Yo, that's crazy.
I'm telling you.
And in the middle of all of that, the Germans are trying to make their way. The Portuguese have entered from Mozambique inside. The British owns most of it. So do they get to a point where they collide? There must be.
No, the British are in charge, man. There were no aeroplanes those days. There were no motor cars.
They were trekking on foot or horseback.
Horseback. The British introduced the trains because of the mining in Kimberley. They brought it inland because of the gold in Johannesburg. So what are you going to do to the British?
Sure. Where are the Afrikaners in the middle of all of this? When everybody else...
First of all, they conquered in the Cape province and became a Cape colony.
Yes, and they were trekking into the inland.
So they tried to run away. The British followed them. When they got into the Free State, the diamonds were discovered there. Then the British came and said, "Hey, man,
Bring.
You are our guys. This is our diamond.
It's like a typical bully scenario.
Yes. And then when these guys, others, Paul Kruger and others, crossed into the Transvaal, which is across the Transvaal, they came after them. And they said, no, you guys, you are still our colonies, man. Don't get this thing in your head that you are what. And then they took that. Which is why in 1910, the British then took the Cape Colony, Free State, which now became Orange River Suzerainty is what the British called it at that time, and then the Transvaal.
Yeah.
So now, look, the Cape covering all up to the south of Namibia, coming this way, and then taking this to the border with Botswana, taking the Transvaal. Now, the Transvaal actually covering also close to the border with
Lesotho or Botswana,
Swaziland, and so on.
Yeah.
So in 1910, the British went to their parliament in England, and they declared a country that had never existed before. They called the Union of South Africa Act.
Which is us.
All of us. The whole lot.
Yeah. But in one bag.
They passed that act. We are still that law is still there in the Union of South Africa Act. Was passed in 1910.
Sure.
And that was when we became one country.
I asked where were the Afrikaners?
They were also part of this thing. Yes, they were.
But I'm missing an important question. Where are the Africans? Where are our ancestors in the middle of all of this?
We are just around. We are defeated.
We are long defeated. So we are just being carried through.
We are just carried through.
And we probably help them to carry things. We are just.
And after they took Natal, the English, then they discovered, hey man, this is good territory for growing sugar.
Yeah.
Now they had already conquered India in India. They brought Indians. They got the poor Indians and all to come and use them as sugar to cultivate sugar cane. Sugar cane you see in Natal today.
Yes.
Is the Indians were brought here to come and grow sugar. And that's why it's still just there.
Yeah, yes.
And now you must also understand India. Of course, that is another story of another day. The Indians were brought down here 3.5 years. They would stay for 3.5 years. After that, they could be allowed you can go back.
Okay.
Now, the British have brought them on the ships and so on. How do you go back to?
But you can go home now.
Yeah.
Okay. Transport though?
It's your own business.
You sort it out. So they couldn't go back home, essentially.
Essentially, they couldn't. But there was also social conditions in India. There was no way Indians could go back to India, really.
Yeah.
Now, because the Indians had been conquered earlier, in 1860, the Indians formed an organization, the All India Congress, to fight British imperialism. 1860.
Sure.
You call yourself African National Congress. You call yourself Indian Congress. You call yourself whatever. Where does Congress come from? From India.
They are the ones who brought this concept.
They gave a birth to it to fight for their freedom in India. Mahatma Gandhi went to study in England, qualified as a lawyer and all of that, and came, instead of going back to India, he came to South Africa, and he came to Natal. And the first organization he formed was the Natal Indian Congress. And that's how the name Congress came here. Yeah. And then he will organize them to march long distances to try to get to the Transvaal, to get jobs in the mines and all of that. And when in 1912, the Africans formed an organization to fight for their freedom, there was argument among them now. What shall we call it? Imbumba, what, and so on. But, hey, man. But ultimately they said, no, chaps. Whatever name we take, Congress must be in that name.
Was it because they felt the template of Congress was working elsewhere?
They had been watching the Indians marching from Natal coming into the Transvaal. And also, of course, hearing about how the Indians had fought with Congress to make themselves free and so on. So they say, whatever you call it, at least the name Congress must be in there. But we want a militant organization like that. So it was called the South African Native National Congress. That was the first name of the African National Congress. It changed its name to African National Congress in 1923 at the conference of the ANC, 1923.
What a rich history that we're not aware of. Jeez. Let's go back to your story as a young man. Because you're very young when you get politicized.
Yes.
What makes you see the world from that perspective of fighting for freedom? Because you're as young as probably in your teens. What happens to your world?
No, that agree now, you must know that now people are struggling. That will divert me to another direction, but
let's see how far it takes us.
It will divert me. So now there was a struggles against the pass laws. In the early 50s, there was pass laws for the men and so on, but now there were pass laws for women. Then there was a big marches by the women and so on. And when now our mothers had to carry the passes and all of that, you can imagine it comes into the home. So now there's a certain level of militancy that these guys now, they are really going too far, you know. And then there is, so whether you are at home or what, your mothers are also talking Maibui. Maibui.
And it wasn't something, you highlight the mothers because it shows that it wasn't something they used to talk about.
Yes.
But now they're bringing it also to the house.
Yeah, but you know, when the fight, when there's a struggle, usually the men talk about it when they are by themselves there and all of that. But when the women get into it, they bring it into the home.
It's no longer motlasa tlhare.
Aiko.
Yeah.
Mole mo dulang banna fela ntse ba tsuba ba ntse ba nwa jwala mole. No na e ka mo tlong ka mo.
Mo kitchen.
Oh god. Mo ferefere wa tloa ntate mo.
What does that lead to?
No, now we are always listening. You know, you must not listen when the old people, especially when the men are talking, you know, you must not. But in the house, in the evening, the mother and the father will talk about a man. And then now and then they say, hey, so now you try to make like you are not hearing what they are saying and so on.
But you can't avoid it.
You can't avoid it because you can see that these issues are affecting us as well, you know.
Yeah.
And but still, the African domestic life prevails in this whole thing and so on. So I'm talking about what is happening outside the home, but it's now also in the home. At night, it is also there. So some of the kids will go and work, they'll go to school, they'll talk about these things and all of that. But we are also listening, hey man. I remember when we went to Mariazell, and there were many kids that came from Joburg and so on, from Eastern Cape and whatnot. And when we got to boarding school, we were all concerned, hey, man. and we could talk about these things because now, my father this, my mother that, and all of that. And
you're
so
bringing
on.
all versions of the same story. What was at the heart of the stories? Was it the Khonyenye Fatsa Gabo Taki? As in, like, when blacks were becoming...
Yes. Well, now, when Batubana, you know, they are doing that and so on. And the Catholics were always putting in something, by the way, into this thing that you must understand that your future is being affected by these things, these laws that are being passed, these things and so on. The nuns, the Catholic nuns were very, very good. They were our teachers. They were teaching and they could explain why this thing is not right and that one is not. But we will always want, you must be careful not to say these things to the government because we are going to be expelled here and then you'll not have a school.
Yes.
Hey,
But get the knowledge.
You must get this knowledge. You must know what is happening and so.
Do you remember the moment where you now realize, you are now part of the movement?
The South African Student Organization with Steve Biko. Mampile Rampile came a little bit later, but she was in that generation as well. And then there were a number of students who came from medical school, Dr. Mashalaba, men and women who were studying for medical science there and so on. And later on, Dr. Mukwape. But men, then there were, when we had formed SASO, we now decided that all the colored Indian and all of that, we must form, SASO must embrace all, and therefore Black consciousness was for all of us to say, we are not anti-white. By the way, in the policy manifesto of SASO, it says clearly, SASO does not regard Black consciousness as anti-whiteism.
Okay.
It was specifically a clause in the policy manifesto. You can find that document.
Sure, we can, yeah.
No, you can find it.
Yeah, we can Google and find it.
Yeah, Google and find it and read the policy manifesto there.
Yes.
You'll hear, we wanted to have equality. The thing that Steve Biko often emphasized was that we don't want to be equal with whites just because we want to be like them. No, we don't want to be like them. We are okay. In fact, we are Black and we are proud. We are Black and we are comely. We are Black and we are powerful. We are everything you could think of.
We can self-determine.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
You know, this thing that the Afrikaner think that we can only be human beings when we are with them is a serious mistake. So that was the kind of attitude that was there. Yeah. So Black consciousness is not against white people. It is a demand to be treated on an equal footing.
True. Yeah.
That's what it is really about. And of course, later on, there were others who felt, no, we don't even want to be with these guys. We said, no, you are making a serious mistake. We are all human beings.
And these are the Roman Catholic teachings.
Yes.
Clearly.
Yes, we are all human beings.
Yeah.
You can't now say, because they are white, because they are
Indian, and because they are...
no, we are not like them, we are not equal to them, and no, it's not like that. We are all human beings. Made in the image of God, period.
Yeah. You get arrested at some point as a member of SASO.
Yeah. Then what else? Then I went to after I finished matric. I went to Terflop.
Okay, we are Limpopo.
Yeah, I went to Limpopo.
It was an independent country at the time.
No, it was
before that.
No, but at the time I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's now South Africa is a union of South Africa.
Okay, all of it, including...
It became a republic in 1961.
Got you, yes.
Now, we are a republic, the Republic of South Africa. Having been a union in 1961, the British were pressured by the Afrikaners that no, you guys, you are in Europe. We want to be a republic. We must be an independent, self-governing, independent that thing. So the Republic of South Africa is born in 1961.
Yeah.
May 1961.
That's the first freedom. That had nothing to do with us.
It had nothing to do with us.
But it was freedom of the Afrikaners from the British.
From the British.
Yeah.
But now, with the Afrikaners now dominating us.
Of course. Yeah. I would think it's the first freedom.
But now, you see, we also feel, no, man, something must be done about this thing and so on. The Republic of South Africa. And the Afrikaners are governing over us. It's difficult times, but we decide, no, we must do something about this thing. What I should do is to go a little bit back to the 1950s, because I think I have said that the ANC, having been formed in 1912, it became the ANC in 1923.
Yeah.
Now, the Indian people had formed the Natal Indian Congress in the 1890s.
Yeah.
And later on, they formed the Transvaal Indian Congress. Then the colored people formed the Colored People's Congress, but that was formed much earlier on.
Okay.
I think it must have been about in the 30s, but they were only like in the Cape. Then came the situation in which the white South Africans who were against apartheid formed the Congress of Democrats. Congress of Democrats was a white section which was anti-apartheid.
Was it Afrikaner or English?
It was everything.
Okay.
It was there's some Afrikaners, not many, but very many of them were more English speaking, and very many of them Jewish, men and women of Jewish descent. Bo Arthur Shaskalson, Bo Helen Joseph, Bo Bob Heppel, Bo Joe Slovo. Very many of them were really of Jewish stock, because they have this sense that there was a danger of what had happened, and they had run away from Germany.
True.
After all what had happened, and they were sensitive to the fact that they were in trouble.
It could happen again. Yeah.
I mean, South Africans now are saying that they are protecting the Palestinians and so on. They are fighting the Jews, but the Jews have been some of the most critical pillars of the struggle against apartheid in this country. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Then there were very many other people. George Bizos came from Greece. They were also anti-apartheid, and so many of the others like that. And we met with these people, and then we realized that, hey man, we must really fight for freedom. We want our freedom. We want South Africa.
Did you all recognize that there was a common goal about these different formations?
Yeah, but you see, because when they came together in 1955, these 5 congresses,
the Indians, the coloreds, and the blacks,
African National Congress, Colored People's Congress,
the Indian
Congress, Congress of Democrats, South African Congress of Trade Unions.
Wow, okay.
5 of them.
Yeah.
These 5 congresses were all committed against apartheid. They called a meeting in Kliptown in 1955, these 5 congresses. And when they were at that meeting, they said, this meeting is the Congress of the people, this meeting.
Yeah.
We, the people, we, the Congress of the people, believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white. So if you look at the Freedom Charter, you will see that those are the men and women who did that. Chief Albert Lutuli was also there, Helen Josephs, Joe Slovo, Bram Fisher, so many of South Africans who were against apartheid, they were all there. And they said that the freedom we are fighting for is for equality among all of us, the people of South Africa. Africans were there. The leaders of the Congress of the People, they were all there.
I guess amongst all these groupings was the perpetrator, the one who was causing the trouble, was Afrikaners. They were not there because they were in power.
No, some of the Afrikaners, by the way, a few of them were also in the, but they were very, very, very few. Yeah.
What comes out of that meeting? What comes out of it
The Freedom
that
Charter,
is tangible?
the document that is called the Freedom Charter. Have you seen it?
I've seen it.
That document,
It's still relevant today. Almost all of it.
It is the document that informed us when we wrote the present constitution of this
of
country.
this country. Yeah.
Yes.
However, with a big omission of land, but we'll get to it.
No, it does. It did not exclude it.
I say omission because it's included, yes. However, the application is another story.
No, yeah, but you see that we can talk about that point at some point.
Yeah.
But there is nowhere where it said the whites own the land of this country. South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white.
Yeah.
It says that.
No, it does.
And you can look through all of it. You will not find anywhere where it says these ones are entitled to the land
more than others.
Others. It's not like that. It's definitely not like that.
I guess maybe the question, because I've had many conversations of this sort, particularly about land, and just bear with me. A PAC, whom I'm talking to very soon, have a different opinion of that very point. Land belongs to Africans because everybody else came in here and found us here, and we can't now just give it to them and say it belongs to all of us. If you found me having a piece of orange, enjoying it, and because you're standing next to me for 10 years while I'm enjoying it, you can't suddenly feel like it also belongs to you.
Okay. Now let me ask this question, and I'll ask a number of them. The Dutch, Portuguese, the Indians who came here to
work the fields.
to work the fields.
Yeah.
Do you think we are entitled to expel them from here?
No.
So?
No, we're not. And that I agree with.
Yes. Now let me say this.
Yeah.
All the white people that came, whether they came from Germany, whether they came from England, wherever they may have come from, when they have become citizens of this country, do you think they must be allowed to live in this country? Yes. And they may own land if they buy it, whatever the situation may be. There is a certain section of the population of our country. You guys call people colored. From which country did they come?
Well, they're South African. They come from here.
No, but now, if you say they are colored, who colored who?
Somebody colored somebody. It's very obvious. And it's a combination. I guess that's why some phrases that I used is mixed race that created an entirely new group of people whom are recognized as a section of our society.
Okay, those who are mixed race, if you call them that, who speak Sotho, who speak Zulu, who speak Xhosa,
are not colored.
They're not colored.
Technically. From this description, because their identity is different. If you marry a white lady, your child is not necessarily colored.
But now my point is,
yeah,
where are you going to
cut the line?
Yeah,
of
this one is colored, this one is not colored.
We've created it, and let me say this: we Kenya Papa, I know the Afrikaners created it when they demarcated us.
Yeah.
You know this probably better than I do.
Yeah.
When they said, "Geba Sotho, Geba Tswana, Gema Kalati, Gema Indian," and that's what they did, and that created an entire community that has its own culture and history that identifies itself very clearly. They're not even confused about the identity of colored people. It's not us that did that, whether right or wrong.
So if the PAC says these people are not South Africans, because
Africa belongs to Africans. Yeah.
So now, what do they say we must do about these people?
In the Africanness of our history, a new tribe was created. It is me trying to defend the PAC. And a new tribe was created, and it became colored. and a proud nation of people who call themselves colored.
I was in jail with some comrades who are what you call mixed people and so on. So I say, well, comrade, you have some white blood in you, you know.
And black blood.
And black blood, eh? So now, where do you cut the line? Are you also entitled to the land? because you,
or it is half the land.
Or half the land. Now, my father never showed me his father or his mother. Now, one of the sad part of my own life is that my mother had one major complaint. Before she died, she said, I never got to know who was my father.
So that meaning you don't know your grandfather?
Yes,
because your mom doesn't know his.
Yeah, because how could she show me that this is my father as well?
Same story.
Yes, who colored who?
Are you highlighting that to demonstrate that even your own history is untraceable in that regard?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. These people that used to live at Sophia Town was mixed. Everybody was living there.
And it's not only there, it's many different parts of South Africa that were mixed.
Even when you go to Lenasia and so on.
Lady Selborne, Pretoria.
Yes. Marabastad. When those people were removed from Marabastad, others were sent to Atteridgeville. Others were sent to
Estrus and Mamelodi.
Yes, Mamelodi and all of that.
Yeah.
But now, if you ask, some of them will tell you we were not allowed. When one family, my brothers was taken there, and my sisters were taken there, and then
who owns the land?
So who owns the land? Who has the right to be here?
There's some who say, and I'm not necessarily defending them or not, who say you found us here, our ancestors. We know where you come from. Utlilega skepe, dromedaries, wapaka ko Cape Town, and said, there's land. And that mountain looks pretty. Maybe we should get in there and find out if we can a cool drink. And you never left. You found us here.
Yes.
When you were trekking into inland, Harasake, Britain, you found us. You found us Kumangau and many other places you were coming. We can say for certain that you found us here. You know exactly where you come from. That's the debate. Do you argue against that debate? That says, but you know exactly where you're from.
It doesn't matter where you come from. What matters now is
that you're here.
You are here, you belong. Do you have a right to live here or not?
Okay, you do. Now let's go to the very history that you know so well. There was a law that gave you the rights to own land, that denied me the right to own the very land you found me on. That law persisted for many, many, many years.
Yes.
Which gave you a far more advantage to amass more land than you can ever imagine. And today, as we speak in 2024, you own more land than I do. And we know where you come from.
Yes.
You know where you come from.
No, but I don't come from somewhere. I was born here.
Yes.
Of mixed blood and all of that, but I was born here. So if this is not my home, then
where's your home?
Where's my home, really? Do you want to cut me into two pieces? So one piece must go
to Europe,
and another one go where?
But do you equally hear the argument that says, why is it that you have more land than I do? And
no.
yet you, and we know why, because there was a law that allowed you.
Okay, Marena Amuna. Marena Aruna anali more land than I have.
True.
So how did they get this? Where did they get this land from?
It's a history I'm not sure of. But how land was acquired back in those days, people were traveling and moving from one place to another, and they find a piece of land that is unoccupied, and they lay claim to it, give it a name, Lekota. And they give it a name. It becomes Lekotaville. and that that persists, and somebody wants, we can take it, and they come and battle you and take your land and grow their land. That is how land was
Yes,
acquired.
yeah.
Even land that was acquired by the white man that came to Africa. That's exactly what they did.
Yes.
With advantage of a gun, and we had a spear. So that's why people who bring up this argument, they say, but we know where you're from. And it's not here. Why do you have more of this than us? As a white man. What is your take on that argument?
The issue about this thing is that this land was, God created the land. And we are told, the Bible tells us that he then created one guy and he blew some air into him so that this man could be that. And afterwards he took the rib of the lady and then it was that. Everybody will have some story of theirs,
Of course.
and so and thing. Now, still, even at that time, Mudimu then abarno, liskabalaja sefate sili. And then how you abar, you misbehaved. Get out of here. Now, from now on, you live by the sweat of
your own,
of your brow. Go out. It doesn't matter. I don't care how it, but you must look after yourself. Yeah. John, what do we do now, chaps?
So are we saying where we are today in 2024, what is the solution to that very God-created challenge?
The thing is that, you see, if we are going to start killing each other, we will kill and be killed.
Until there's no one left.
And kill. As you know, people now and then get tired of fighting. Then they say, let's peace now. Peace. Okay, let's have peace. After some time, there's a generation that comes up that does not know about the war that was fought, and then they start another one. If you look at the Middle East, you will see that there has been wars times without number. Today we are
in the middle of another one.
We are witnessing another huge thing that's going on like that. But somehow, in the nature of the human being, this will repeat itself and repeat itself and repeat itself. And now we have to really concentrate on how can we create conditions that can make it possible for all of us to live in peace and enjoy the fruits which God had initially said we must just eat them and do that. But then we went to eat a tree we shouldn't have eaten from and so on. And then it caused a mess. So it is quite clear that this is not going to end now. World wars, they are being waged. Look at Saudi Arabia.
It's war for land. Most of it.
It's
and religious wars,
yes,
of course.
Yeah, those things are going on like this. So I do think that what we need to concern ourselves with is how do we create conditions in which human beings can live with each other, enjoy what is to be enjoyed, knowing full well that we are not going to live forever. At some point, we are going to pass into history, and our children will inherit whatever we leave. And they will also live, they'll have their own children, and then they will keep on and so on. And we are going to go on like this.
Do you think we've achieved that in South Africa in the past? Whether good or bad, but we've achieved a harmonious setup.
More or less, yes. More or less. More or less, definitely. We have laws now. We have a constitution. We have declared that all is equal before the law. And we are suffering, we are struggling to keep the whole thing together, but at least
it is yeah. It's moving.
It's moving, yes.
Yeah.
It's moving on and on and on.
But you can't with that movement, and because you use the word enjoy, but not everyone is enjoying it. And the color of those that are not enjoying it is clear. It's those whose complexion looks very similar to mine and yours.
Yes.
They're not enjoying this experience. Like they're in the car, but it's so then would you agree with them when they say we need a better environment for us? And would you disagree with them and allow me to go back one step if they say it starts with the land, this enjoyment?
No, I don't think it starts with the land. Look, I now and then I think to myself, how many people with this government that we put in place, how many of us are sitting and eating when others are starving?
It's not only
Have
government.
not have no, not only in government.
Yes.
It's not only in government. Yes, it's not only government, but the ones who are, I'm just saying, who are enjoying this. I mean, Mapisa Ngakula has got lots of money from what I have seen from the newspapers. And some of the people have got quite a lot of money in the mattresses and in the pillows, which they don't know what to do with. Now they sleep on this money.
So are you saying there are those that are enjoying,
Yes.
but the majority are not?
No doubt about it.
Yes.
But why should there be others who are enjoying when others are not enjoying?
Whose fault is that?
I don't know.
And I asked this question acknowledging that you were once in government for a long time.
Yes.
And you had the key to the solutions. That's why the question, whose fault is it that in this bus, 80% of the people are hungry, 20% who are sitting in front, they're living a good life?
No, but you know, my brother, the thing is this. We set up government. Now, nobody can say you stole money when you were in government. Because why? I was put there by the majority of you. You said I must, and then you told me this is how much you'll earn for every year that you are working and so on. And having served also prison jails and all of that and so on, I was satisfied with what I was being given. And I never stole somebody else's money, except this is what I lived to, what you guys said, this is what you'll have. And when I discovered this, then I said, no, this is not what is intended. But did Mengakula say that? We are now told, and we've seen the figures of how much over and above what she was earning. She took so much for herself.
She can defend it and say it's unfounded until it's proven in court, but it's fine.
Yeah, but let it go then to court.
Yeah.
But the point is that she doesn't even want to be arrested.
It's a different story. I guess really the question I'm trying to get to, Lekota, is how did we create this society of the very few have and the very many have nots? How did you and I, as part of the system, as South Africans, whether you are in government and I'm not, but we are part of this, we are in the same bus.
Yeah.
How did that come about from your observation?
From my observation, we inherited it from those who gone before us.
Okay.
We really inherited and we tried to improve as we are still even today trying to improve what we have inherited.
So we inherited the culture of inequality.
Of government and of inequality.
Yeah.
That's the culture we inherited.
However, we had an opportunity to change it.
Yeah, but now, the point of the matter is that we are still trying. And if you think about it, we will not live long enough to abolish all of it. Because now we have limited period. I'm already in my 70s now. I cannot, when I look like this, I cannot see that I will live to see a different order of things in the world.
In your lifetime?
In my country. I cannot see that I will live to see the day when each and every one of the South Africans is exactly equal to the next one and so on. Because my days are numbered.
Are there efforts heading in that direction that are clearly heading in the direction of the equality that we are now speaking of?
We talk about it a lot. We talk about it a lot. But I don't see the speed of moving in the direction of achieving that equality that we sometimes sit and we think, I wish everybody could have food tonight when they go to sleep, and so on and so on. I cannot see that such a day will come to pass before I pass on into history.
Are they hindrances, or is it us who are just dragging our feet? Or is it efforts, as former President Thabo Mbeki said many times, there are other forces that are against the benefits of democracy that should be received or enjoyed by everyone. Are there hindrances that are obvious, like the stumbling block that are avoiding this progress to carry on? Or is it us? Maybe we are the problem as all
Yes,
of us.
but it is us, the human being. There is no, the animals can't talk. The animals cannot do what we can do. We can make this light. We can
make the cameras that are capturing.
Yes,
this.
we can grow plants and all of that. Some things which the other animals cannot do. But how many of us are willing to sweat hard to make it so that when all food is there, we say, okay, you have this much and I'll have this much, and it's equal, and so. But it doesn't happen that way.
So it's ultimately us.
It's us.
In our own individual corners.
It is us.
Yeah. What do you say to comments that say, but while you are trying, somebody is slowing you down?
Yeah, but there's something about us which is called conscience. If you see, and when I see some of the people, some of the kids sleeping under the
bridge,
asking for food, it just breaks something in me that this is not the right thing and so on. But what can I do about it? Because I also don't have enough to give everybody that I see. I need numbers of people that think and see things the way I see them, and who feel that we must do something.
I think there's enough people who see it. Maybe there's not enough people who act on it.
But why don't they act on it?
I think your answer is as good as mine. How do you get arrested? Let's move to that.
We were a student at Telflop. I was arrested twice, and I went to Robben Island twice. So,
okay.
So now, the first time, we were students at the University of the North. And there was a graduation ceremony at which one of the former students, Abraham Tiro, made a speech and pointed out that the whites, and he was addressing a graduation ceremony.
Okay.
Ainsland, who was the Minister of Bantu Education and things like that, was one of the people in that meeting. He then said, but you guys say that this is our university. You said this is for our education. But now here we are in this graduation ceremony. You white people are sitting in the front seats here. You are full of this thing here and so on. Our parents are sitting outside. When are you going to, why don't you let us run this institution? And you go and run the institution of your own children, Potchefstroom and other places like that. Yeah. And then he says, this is complete injustice. And I must say this to you. It's not far. Your days are numbered. Yeah. Apartheid will end. This apartheid you are doing, this thing is going to end.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many guns and how many weapons you have and so on. It's going to end, and I can warn you. We are going to change this thing. We are going to take up next.
Is he a student at this time?
At this time, he's a student. He's actually graduated himself. And now he is studying for teaching so that he can go and teach.
Okay.
But he's got a degree. He's just passed his degree. He's actually graduating on this day when he says this thing. Amen. By the time when that meeting is finished, we just knew something is not right and something is going to give. And then on the Monday at about 11 o'clock, he was, the police came and they took him and whisked him away.
To where, do you know?
To home. They took him home out.
Yeah,
He's now expelled.
Okay.
We now say, no, I was the secretary of the SRC, Obri Mukwena was the president of the SRC, Thabo Molewa was deputy president, and so on. So we called the students and we said to them, we cannot allow for this. The thing what this comrade said was right for us, because these people cannot do this to our parents. Why do our parents come here having paid the school fees and other things? Now they are made to sit outside and they don't see us graduating and so on. Then we were all expelled.
The
whole university expelled.
Not only SRC.
No, not only SRC, the whole of all of us.
It was a shutdown.
It was shut down, yeah. It was shut down for a while. And then the authorities then were now calling guys one by one and so on. Cyril Ramaphosa, by the way, was also one of the students there and so on. They were called back, Bosiril and others and so on. Then some of us were never called back. Then the university continues. We then continue with the business of the South African Student Organization.
But out of school, so to speak.
Out of school, yes.
Yeah.
But some of us were corresponding, and I went back to KZN because I had been teaching at St. Francis College before I came to Terfloop because first year I didn't have sufficient money to go into university, so I had to work teaching at St. Francis College, and then I went back there. They took me to teach again. So when this thing had happened of expelling us, I went back there. I also was playing soccer, by the way.
Yes, of course.
For one of the Devon teams, and I was getting paid for playing part time, and then I was working part time. Then I came back
to university.
I didn't come back to university. We remained members because we still were students, but we were corresponding. Expelled students, and we were corresponding.
Okay. Yeah.
UNISA and
distant learning.
Yeah. Then when there was holidays and SASO called meetings and so on, we went to these meetings and so on. And then I got elected to be the permanent organizer of the South African Student Organization.
Okay.
Muntu Mieza, who was at Terfloop, who was at Zululand, was elected Secretary General, and we were going on and so on. Around this time, Mozambique was fighting for freedom. And then
Samora Machel. Is it that time?
Samora Machel, yes. Samora Machel had become the president. And when they conquered the Portuguese, we then decided to arrange for a meeting so that we can celebrate the independence of Mozambique. But in fact, part of the plan was to organize our people to say, look, Mozambique has become independent, and we must take up our struggle, intensify our struggle so that we can also take power here. And when we were having that meeting, it was at Carisfontein. You know Carisfontein is a stadium in Durban. It was a big stadium at the time, very highly celebrated.
Yeah.
And then we had this what was called Viva Frelimo rally.
Okay. Clearly inspired by the Mozambique.
By Mozambicans, I think that they have conquered power and all of that and things. To cut the long story short, we got arrested.
What dunya
Here, they arrested us. They arrested A lot of
Did they pick up that it was a double celebration?
Oh no, definitely. They were clear about that. They were absolutely clear about it. They also had infiltrators,
Of course, Askaris and so forth,
who gave them information or now what in fact we are doing, and our plan is this and so on. So we got arrested, including some of the students from Salisbury Island, the Indian that thing, and Seth Cooper was part of that. Strini Mudli, who died now, was also part of that.
Where are you taken? We
were arrested from different. Some people were organizing here in Joburg. So these rallies were supposed to be in Joburg, in KZN, in Pretoria, in Cape Town, and so on. So we got arrested. We were all brought up to Pretoria. We were locked up in, what do you call now? This Pretoria
prison.
Hosimamburu.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That was the Pretoria prison. That's where people were hung.
Yes.
If you were sentenced to death, you were hung there. So we were brought there, and the police were assaulting us, of course, and we had to make statements and all of those things that go with it and so on. And when it was all said and done, by the way, Bani Pijana was also brought there from the Eastern Cape. They really were looking for everything and everywhere for everybody that they could arrest and so on. The late Mapetla Mohapi and all of that. So we got arrested. And then when it was all said and done, 13 of us were charged. At the end of the state case, 4 of us were released and 9 were actually charged now. We went on trial, and when it was finished, 9 of us were convicted.
Is this the beginning of Robben Island for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think 6 of us were sentenced. And some got 5 years.
Okay.
And some of us got 10 years.
What did you get? 10?
10 years.
Yeah. What was the state's case? What were they saying you did?
Terrorism.
You had done nothing. You were organizing a party.
By organizing that, we were agitating people that they must be rise against the government and whatever else you can think.
Were they justified, considering the laws at the time? Clearly you were doing something wrong, according to the law.
According to the law, yes. Well, they
had enough.
As far as they were concerned, it was enough. But
yeah.
We were just celebrating Mozambique. No, but you were doing this so that you can put the spirit of
the South African blacks.
Into South African blacks, and then to do this and so on. So.
Jeez, 10 years.
10 years, 5 years for count 1, 5 years for count 2.
What is count 1 in that regard?
It is terrorism.
You're once a terrorist.
That's what it is. Terrorism.
Nelson Mandela was once a terrorist.
Yes. Terrorism. Terrorism and inspiring racial hostility. Yeah.
Oh,
that's right.
When are you sent to Robben Island?
So we are sentenced. After we have been sentenced, we are sent. We are sent to Robben Island. We traveled from here and through Kimberley, and we go to Robben Island to Cape Town the following day.
Are you aware where you're going at this stage?
Yeah, we are. No, definitely. We are in the lorry. We are in the lorry that is taking us there.
And are you aware who's there? Based on
we know we know on the Robben Island what it is all about. Mandela and them are already there. We know they are there, so we've never met them and so on. But we are going there. It's where everybody goes. If you are arrested for terrorists, you are going to Robben Island.
Who do you find? Do you remember your first day arriving?
Now we were tied with chains here and on the legs and here. And then when we got there, I can show you the place when we go to Cape Town, where there was a prison cell that was there on the front.
Okay.
It's still there.
Okay.
It's still there. You can see. Then the lorry reverses with us, and then they had to take the chains off and so on. And we were swollen. Our legs were swollen, and the chains eating onto the flesh and that thing. Then we jump off, and they don't give you a chance. They push you like hell, so that you must not see where you are going and what you are in there. And then we go down under the ship. So you can't see outside now because the water is here. And then we went, and then as the sun set, we got on Robben Island, and they took us out and they put us in temporary cells that were set aside for taking people who are coming for the first time, who must first be checked and all of that, to see how they behave and all of that, and things like that. And then after that, we were taken to another section of the prison where we stayed by ourselves, and you stay for some days. And when they think that they have some idea, they are studying your what you have done, what you are arrested for. And so on. And then afterwards, they took us to a section called a D section. We had to stay there. We are not mixed with the other prisoners who are already there. And even they, President Mandela and them were staying in their own section. And we are now staying in that section. All the other prisoners who are serving time are staying in the different sections where they are kept and so on.
You're not even seeing anyone.
No, you're not. What? You are not supposed to meet the guys who are already serving, and etc. You don't see each other.
Because Mandela at the time were lifers. We didn't even know the length of his sentence.
Yeah, there was life sentence. Life sentence. Yeah. After some time, being in the D section, we had some problems arose there, and we were brought back to where we had been locked up and so on to stay there. And so then we realized that, in fact, we are not supposed to meet with any of the other prisoners who are there. So we couldn't see any of the other prisoners.
Jeez.
Our food was brought, it was put there. The warders will bring it and put it there. And then you get your things and you eat, and then they come and collect them, and then locked up, and then they are gone.
Does that change at some point?
At some point, of course, what will happen is that the 1976 pupils who were arrested for all these things and so on, they begin to arrive in numbers.
Oh, the trucks are bigger and more.
Yes, and then now there's all kinds of developments, and then we are regarded as instigating them and all of that.
Jeez.
We go back, and then we are put in a different section.
So it took a while for you as the new people then to even meet Nelson Mandela.
We couldn't meet them. We are not about... There are people who lived on Robben Island for 10 years who never met President Mandela and them.
What?
Shame. There are sections. If you go... You haven't been to Robben Island?
No, I've been many years ago.
Okay.
But I know, because tourist visit is very different.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You are taken to Nelson Mandela's prison, you see it, and then you walk around. This is where the quarries, and you go home.
Yeah, that's right.
There's no clear explanation or more all of that. What you're explaining now?
Yeah, what the people... There's a kitchen where the food is cooked. There's section comrades who are there arrived at this time are staying there. These ones are staying there. These ones are...
Yes.
And you are not allowed to mix.
It's
very important. You must give the prisoners apart from each other. Because once they can interact in numbers, there's danger that they can cause a lot of havoc, problems.
And was there... Because now we speak of this as stories that took place, and people became presidents after that and so forth. Was there wanting from Lona, your group, to meet Mandela and now speak to the elders?
Oh, yes, we were always curious. But you were not allowed not to meet, not even to see that is Mandela. No.
Nix.
Hey, man, yes, sure.
Did you eventually meet?
Yeah, we actually did meet.
In prison?
Ultimately.
In Robben Island?
Yes.
Yeah. And were the meetings useful for a young cadre like yourself at the time?
At some point, I got injured. You see here?
There is a scar.
Yeah,
yes,
the scar
I see
there.
it. Yes.
I got injured.
It happened on Robben Island?
Yeah, it happened on Robben Island. Now, one of the prisoners hit me with something here.
Yo.
Because of these political arguments that we have,
Did they get that heated?
They got very heated. They could get very, very heated.
Yo.
So the chap hit me with a spade. In fact, he could have really killed me.
What? I can see there's a line there, yes.
The authorities were so worried. Then they separated me from the others. And then I think they didn't know where exactly to put me and so on. So they got and put me in a cell in the section of Comrade Mandela and them. That's how I came to
meet
and them and so on.
How many years in prison are you at this stage?
I was doing 10 years because I had 5 years for first count and 10 years 5 years for first count and another 10 years for the second count. But by the time we got those sentences, we had already spent like 3 years in prison.
Pretoria.
Yeah. Then and then what happened is that the 10 years, 5, they made that to be concurrent.
Okay. So it becomes slightly shorter.
Shorter, yes. It became 8 years in full.
Yeah.
8 years in full.
Jeez.
Then when we came out, we were released here at
Sun City.
No, not Sun City is a prison which was built when we were on our way back to Robben Island. Yeah.
You were released and a few months later you're going back.
No, we went back and we came back and we formed the United Democratic Front.
UDF.
UDF, yeah.
Yes.
Now, then
that was a powerful movement.
Man, we pushed that and so on. Then we got arrested.
But didn't you learn your lesson at this stage?
Yeah, but now what had we done wrong, really, man? We hadn't done anything wrong. We had only said that now we want our freedom.
Especially now that you know.
And then we came back from there. And now you come back, but you find that the situation has not improved at all.
Especially now that you know how easy it is to go to prison. Why don't you just go and live your life as a teacher and carry on quietly?
I wanted to go to exile. And then the comrades, by this time I joined the African National Congress.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go, but I wanted to go to military training and come and so on. But the comrades said, no, we need you in the country. Please, Comrade Terra, you don't go.
So it was clear that they needed people to mobilize.
Yeah, they needed some people who can mobilize people inside the country.
Yeah.
So I was one of those people that were instructed, no, you must not go there. We need you here.
And you get arrested again.
Hey, Con. Then we got arrested again.
We don't have a lot of time. What are the circumstances of this arrest? The first one, you're organizing a party. What are you doing this time?
We drew up a document which we called the 1 million signature campaign.
Okay.
Urged the people of the country, people to sign that they support the call for the abolition of apartheid.
Mm-hmm.
So we were doing collecting these signatures of people for the million signature campaign and so on. And it was going. And then, man, one of the things that now happened is that people were so angry with apartheid. And then now there were riots here. There were burnings sometimes.
When is this? The 80s?
We are now...
it's way after 76 uprising.
Yeah, well, it's
way after, yeah.
Don't talk about even 76. Bomefi Mrobe, it was that line. Now we are agitating Bishop Tutu. Look, let me put it. We now formed the United Democratic Front. We had a provincial structure in the Cape.
Yeah.
Our president there was Oscar Mpeta. We had another one in KZN. Our president there was Achigumede. Then we had the Transvaal UDF. Our president there was Albertina Sisulu. So we had, and they were all former ANC members.
Of course. Not current at the time, but former.
Former, yeah.
But ANC is operating differently at this stage.
It's underground.
It's underground. It's in Lusaka. It's in all those. It's banned in the country.
It's banned in the country.
Yeah.
So that's why we formed the United Democratic Front. It's a different organization. But when you...
With the same intention.
In the same intention.
Yeah.
But when we elect all these members of the ANC before it was banned, the Bourgeois said, you think you are clever.
You're just changing colors, but it's the same thing. Oh, yeah.
So, man, we got arrested. Hey, man, we got arrested for the riots that had happened. Because, hey, man, there were riots that happened in the country.
I remember UDF.
In the Cape.
Because I was a kid, but I remember UDF well.
In the Cape, in the Transvaal, in Natal. Then there was other branches now that were formed, other provinces. Eastern Cape formed. The Free State, you know. It was just a messy situation. When we had been arrested, I think there was about almost like 40 or so. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Yeah, man. And then we came and we locked up in the Sun City.
This time, you're no longer going.
We are the ones who called Sun City, because there were all these projects they were building in there, and the lights were always out there, almost like Sun City.
It is still the same even now.
Yeah,
it's the most fascinating thing. When there's load shedding, it doesn't die.
Yeah.
It's always so bright.
Yes. Yes.
I always thought that was the reason. It seems I'm right.
No,
because it's always lit and it's so bright.
We called it because Sun City was now a big thing. And then when we got there with said, this is Sun City. we named it Sun City and so on.
But you didn't stay long. You were shipped back to Robben Island.
No, we were shifted to Pretoria. And then our trial ran for a while in Pretoria. And then, but there's so many people that were always coming to the trial. Then the authorities decided that no, the trial must be moved to Bethel. I'm sorry, not Bethel, to Delmas.
So it's not easy access.
Not easy access for people coming from the township, especially people who work, to come there. So now we went to Delmas. So the Delmas trial you must know about because we stayed there for a long time. The longest treason trial in days.
It just ran.
On and on and on.
Sure.
There was 22 of us charged. At the end of the state case, there was 11 remained accused, and the others were released because there was not sufficient evidence, and so on and so on. And then we ran the trial. And then we were sentenced. When we were sentenced, 6 of us were released. Others got suspended sentence and released them. But 5 of us were found guilty. You know, the Judge Malindi, Gina Malindi, he got 5 years.
In that 5?
Tom Mantata, who died now, he got 6 years. Mos Chigani.
Yes.
Mos Chigani was a relative of the Reverend.
Ah, okay.
Mos Chigani got 10 years. Pupo Mlife got 10 years. I got 12 years.
Yar.
Back to.
Back to Cape Town. Even though you say it's like it happened again.
Sure.
What were you feeling then that this is going to go on again?
Hey, man, I tell you. I have had my neighbor comrades, man. The comrades should not have let me go to exile. But here I was now.
But I know it's very happy.
Back to.
What do you find there now? Because for Mandela now, they are mayors of Cape Town. They've been there for so long.
No. Mandela, agree. What I should have told you is that when we were released,
the first time,
we were released around the time when Bobby Sands and them in Europe, in Ireland. You remember the strikes, hunger strikes of Irish prisoners.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But we thought, up until that time, if we were sentenced, your children could only see you until they were 3 years. After that, they would have to wait until they are 15 years. When the Irish hunger strikers went onto that strike, and they went 60 days. You know, and that we also decided to go on a hunger strike, but then we said to comrades, hey, comrades, a hunger strike, but the comrades said, no, especially these younger people who have just come, they don't know what a hunger strike is. A hunger strike is not a child's play. Rather, no. Then we said to them, no, comrades, but if you win, you defeat us in the voting, then we must introduce the demand that we must be allowed to see our children after they are 3 years. So that we can't just go for hunger strike for food. No way.
It's a trivial
thing. We must take a serious thing. And we've been here, we've spent years here. And then, so it was agreed that now, it indeterminate chaps. Hey, man. Then, you know, I was put on the hunger strike, on the hunger strike. Now, because whenever you have a hunger strike, you must form the hunger strike committee.
Okay.
These are the men who will lead the hunger strike, make sure that it doesn't stop until you get what you have asked for.
Yeah.
People think, you know, you must look who's against the hunger strike. You must put those who are against
in the committee.
In the committee, because they are going to struggle hardest to get the hunger strike to stop as quick as possible.
Yeah. When you put in there, how long did it last? Jeez.
You know that hunger strike, man. Hey, by the time it was the 5th day or 6th day, I called.
The Irish did 60 days.
60. But the thing is that, you know, of course, the hunger strike is heaviest in the early days because you are used to eating.
Exactly.
But as you move on, your bodies adjust to this. And now, man, it was getting on and on. And then the authorities were also very, very worried because when they you have a hunger strike, they don't want the people outside to know that you have a hunger strike. But now when the weekends come, they can't stop the visitors from coming.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, my brother, when the people come, have come, the visitors are there. I'm telling you, we are going to find ways to get the hunger strike out. The information that the hunger strike is on. But not only because of that, but also because among the prison warders, we have some of the people that we have won to our side.
That are sympathetic.
That are sympathetic to us. They were all whites. The prison warders were all whites. No other race. But even amongst those, there were some who really supported us. So we got to get the message out. Hey! And the Buru boys were so worried. Then they tried to get Comrade Mandela to come and talk to us to say that we must stop them. Then we told the old guys that, Comrade, we want to see our children.
Mm-hmm.
So you can tell these guys, unless they give a commitment that we see our children, we are not going to eat.
Mm-mm.
Hey! And now they knew also that Irish hunger strikers are now going, they were now going 60,
Yes.
61 days, Bobby Sands and those guys. And then they realized, hey man, this thing is going to go the same route.
Mm-hmm.
They called Comrade Mandela to say he must talk to us and so on. And he said, Comrade President, thank you very much, but please tell these people we want to see our... They must just, if they really wanted this thing to stop, they must let our children come and see us. Even they have finished 3 years, they must still come and visit us.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we are not going to eat this food.
Sure.
And you can see we are giving their food away and so on. Right? These young people are doing this, and we cannot but go with them.
Mm.
The comrades who were cooking for us were also refusing to eat.
Yeah. The very food they were cooking.
Yes.
That takes strength.
Amen.
That takes a lot of strength.
And I tell you, my brother, the authorities send the message to say now, you can start eating, you'll be allowed to see your children after this and so on. We said, no. We want you to go and change the law in Parliament. Go and change the act.
Yeah.
It must say that we are entitled to see our children. Because this thing is in the law. And unless Parliament changes, you are not going to break the law. Hey, man. White man, they pleaded, hey, please, chaps, we are serious, man. This thing is...
Why don't they let you not eat and kill yourselves with hunger?
Because you are refusing these people to see their children. The world outside was complaining. How can you treat human beings like this?
Yeah.
That then they said, no. The letter is there, it's written, here it is, and this is the thing. And the minister has been authorized to sign that we will do that and so on. He said, yeah, that's right.
It happened.
That's what led to President Mandela being removed from Robben Island.
To Portsmouth.
Portsmouth.
Yes.
Yes. We went to Portsmouth, then we were, the second group that was taken, we were sent to Victor Verster. And then there was Halima Motlanthe and the others who were sent to Helderstrom. It's a prison east of Pretoria, of Cape Town. And after a while, we were moved from Victor Verster and brought to Leeuwkop.
Leeuwkop.
Yes,
Okay. Jeez, you think of a river. I wouldn't have thought of a river going to Leeuwkop.
Agree, the river is...
right there.
You go up, and then Leeuwkop is to the right.
Yes, I see.
I was released from there when I was first...
Jeez.
I think then we got there, and Seth Cooper and others, I left them there, and then they had to go back, and I was taken to Kroonstad.
Oh, back home.
I was released from there. And then that was the first time when I came out.
What do you anticipate is your performance this time in the elections? And what efforts are you putting in place
to achieve a better performance? I must tell you, I must be absolutely honest with you. When we formed the Congress of the People, we had a lot of people that supported us. And then, but what we didn't understand was that ANC had sent a lot of people to come with us as if they were with us.
They were okay.
But these people had come to disrupt what we were doing and all of that and so on. Mosiuoa and all of that and so on. The Reverend Dandala and so on and so on.
And their goal was achieved.
Their goal was achieved. I'm telling you, they performed very well. They did very, very well. Some of them afterwards went back to the ANC, and then they were made ambassadors and sent to other countries. And some of them are still there to this day.
You left as a result of the Polokwane conference. Am I correct?
It was immediately after that conference, because it was at that conference that we said, if you are going to put this guy
Mm.
This guy to be president.
We're talking about former President Jacob Zuma when you say this guy.
Well, I don't want to mention anybody's name.
So I've done that.
Well, you said that. I didn't say that. Okay. If you are going to give us this, is the end of the ANC.
Do you think you were right?
I have not a bit of doubt in my mind.
Yeah. So you would say that was the beginning of the end.
Watch these elections. Watch these elections. I'm not saying anything more than that.
I'm curious to know what your statement means, though, when you say watch this election. Like, what does that mean?
The numbers of people who have come to the Congress of the People today, who are saying, man, Comrade Terra, we should have listened to you then. We would not be in what we are in now. Look at the levels of corruption.
Yeah.
So I really just say this. I don't want to be a prophet, but let's watch these elections.
Your commitment to staying the course is incredible, in my opinion, because your challenges are so many. What do you think is going to be your performance, though?
My brother, I must tell you absolute truth. I don't believe I was destined to see South Africa change into what I think it really ought to be. But I am happy. I think the people of South Africa will be there even long after I've gone. There'll be generations of South Africans who will continue to wage the struggle that we are waging today. And that's when the freedom of our people will come. Mandela didn't live to see the change that he so much spoke about, even to us younger people when we were with him on Robben Island. He didn't live. I don't know, why should I expect to see what I imagined should be? No, I don't. Comrades like Govan Mbeki, comrades like all of those people, the comrades who went to the gallows, Comrade Vuyisile Mini and others, they believed that freedom will come in their lifetime. But it didn't. It is still coming. And I'm glad I played my part, but I must pass on also.
What do you think will bring it about?
Men and women who are being born, who are young, who are coming up and about, your children. Maybe some of you will see that. But I have no doubt there will always be men and women who will be born, who will rise, and who will say, we don't deserve to live in these shacks. We don't believe to stay in this darkness every night. We don't believe to drink water with animals, not clean water and all of that. There'll always be men and women who'll give their lives, who'll sacrifice. They will make it possible. And that much is sufficient.
How much work is COPE doing to try to cultivate a younger audience, a younger support base? Because that's the young people you speak of.
You see, I say to you, let's watch these elections. I really want to see.
You're as curious as we are.
I'm very, very curious. I'm meeting men and women that I never thought would say to me the things they say to me. Some of whom told me, you guys are wasting your time. Join ANC, man. Go and vote for the ANC.
Join MK.
Yeah, all of that. And so, not MK. Sorry. I'm sorry about that. That one I've never been told to join.
To join.
No,
have you ever thought about joining?
No, I wouldn't even think about that. But I was convinced to join the African National Congress in jail. And I joined the ANC. I really joined it because I believed the ANC was the right organization. But it was in the ANC that I discovered that, hey, man, there are serious dangers. And when the ANC elected some people and put them to say, I said, hey, man, it can't be.
But how is it that you judge them beforehand, long before they actually had done the work.
My brother, you can't take somebody you have seen stealing things and think you can send them to government to go and give him all the taxpayer that all of us pay and think that they are going to do good for the people.
Are you saying the stealing happened long before they were in power?
We saw many people that we were in jail with steal, not stealing money, stealing just prison food. When all of us were prisoners, when all of us were starving, and when they were given chance to cook for us, they steal the food. And then afterwards, you find some prisoners have food, others don't have food, and so on.
And some of these people became our leaders.
Yes. Some of them came out, and then you tell me you are going to entrust this guy.
So you're saying at some point ANC even appointed people they knew very well that there's problems here. Is your silence an answer?
It's an answer, sir.
Yeah.
Even comrades who come from exile, by the way, also came and they told us, hey, man, this, that, and the other. Oh, really? Yeah. The late Chris Hani, he told us about one of the. He says, this guy, you must never put this guy in the leadership.
Yo.
This guy.
We know what he did. I'll be wrong not to ask names. And I don't expect you to tell me. No. But I'll be wrong not to ask.
I'm not going to do. At the time when I did, I said I was on firm ground to do that. I'm not on firm ground now. I'm not going to say so and so this, so and so that. Because there are people who know.
So there are people who know.
There are people who know.
King David Studio Podcast.